There was a little bit of nerves going up to that, being like, oh, we're gonna have to kiss. We haven't kissed.
There's a moment in every celebrity's life where they stop smiling for the cameras, take a deep breath, and finally say what everyone's been thinking.
You know what I mean? Like, we're good friends and now we have to kiss.
For Connor's story, that moment just happened. And trust me, it wasn't quiet. What started as just another press interview turned into a viral clash that has the internet buzzing, fans cheering, and Hollywood insiders scrambling to clean up the mess. Why? Because Connor isn't playing nice anymore. He's done being polite. And when you hear what he said and how, you'll understand why this one comment might have changed everything.
Just reminding ourselves who, what, when, where, you know? Like, this is the first time you're doing something like this. This is the first time you're having this person over to your house.
Connor's story has spent the last year skyrocketing into the pop culture stratosphere thanks to a breakout role in a show that's more than just entertainment. It's a cultural event. Viewers are obsessed, the fandom is fierce, and the community behind it is as passionate as it is protective. So, of course, when someone becomes the face of that kind of show, people start looking closer. Way too close. They start asking questions, not about the craft, not about the storyline, but about the person playing the part. Who is he dating? What's his type? What's really going on off camera? And that's where things got messy.
It was just fun to discover a new side of them too, because up until that point we hadn't done that. Yeah.
For a while, Connor played the game, smiled on carpets, answered the surface level stuff, and dodged the awkward personal questions like a pro. But behind the scenes, the pressure was mounting, and during one recent interview, it finally boiled over. A male interviewer went there, yes, there, asking Connor directly about his preferences and how he feels about people constantly digging into his personal choices. You could see it happen in real time. The smile dropped just a little, the pause stretched a second too long, and then came the answer that set the internet on fire. "I love the character and the community this show speaks to," Connor said, his voice calm but heavy with meaning. "And that's what I want people to focus on. Nothing else matters." Boom! In that one sentence, he made it crystal clear this wasn't a dodge. This was a line in the sand. He wasn't just tired of the questions, he was done with the whole circus. And that's when fans realized something.
For us, we didn't really get the benefit of going linearly. You know, we had to hold the entire story and then go in on command to these different points that these characters are at.
The image of Connor's story that the world had built wasn't the full picture. You probably think this is where the story ends. A celeb sets boundaries, fans support it, the press backs off. Clean and simple, right? You're wrong. Because what happened next turned a private frustration into a very public reckoning, and it all started with one comment under a viral post. The video of the interview spread like wildfire. You know the one. The interviewer leans in, gets that smug look, and asks the kind of question that feels less like journalism and more like poking the bear with a stick. Connor stays composed, but you can see it in his eyes. He's tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with a nap, the kind that comes from months of being turned into a walking headline. The clip barely hit the feed before fans turned it into a moment, dissecting every pause, every word, every breath like it was a courtroom transcript. And buried underneath a post that was already racking up views faster than a Super Bowl ad, Connor decided to make things unmistakably clear he didn't post a video. He didn't release a statement, he just left a comment. 10 words that hit harder than most press releases. Just to be clear, do not ask again.
Referencing episode 2, you see that shift after after the Olympics and then after winning the cup. Like, you see how that affects their dynamic and how that affects the sex for that moment.
That was it. No emojis, no softening, just a digital mic drop. Within minutes, screenshots were everywhere. Fans flooded the replies with praise, support, and, let's be honest, a whole lot of clapping gifs. Because for the first time, Connor wasn't trying to keep the peace. He wasn't brushing it off with a rehearsed smile. He was setting a boundary that was impossible to ignore. And here's where it gets messy. Because in Hollywood, silence is often safer than honesty. PR teams would rather celebrities dodge than declare. But Connor didn't follow the playbook. He threw it out the window, and the result was a full-blown online spectacle. Fans divided into factions. Some said it was empowering, that he had every right to shut the conversation down. Others started speculating even harder, convinced that setting a boundary somehow meant he was hiding something. It's the classic celebrity catch-22. If you say nothing, people assume. If you say something, they assume louder. And while all of this was unfolding in real time, the show, the one that launched Connor into the spotlight, was peaking in popularity.
Some people could be like, oh, so, that means 71% story, but that's not true. It's most of the story is in that 29%.
Each episode dropped like a cultural earthquake. Suddenly, Connor wasn't just a star, he was a symbol. To some, he represented a generation of actors reclaiming their privacy. To others, he was a walking mystery begging to be solved. And while everyone online was shouting over each other, Connor stayed silent. No follow-up, no clarification, just that one comment echoing across social media like a final warning. What nobody saw coming, though, was how this one moment would send ripples far beyond the internet. Because behind the scenes, industry insiders were paying attention, and not all of them were clapping. Here's where it gets wild. While the public was busy posting reactions and defending Connor's right to privacy, a few key people in the industry, folks who normally keep their lips sealed, started speaking out, quietly at first. A casting assistant from a past project posted a cryptic tweet, hinting that this wasn't the first time Connor had asked to keep things professional during press runs. Some actors show up for the work, others show up for the drama. Connor was always there for the work, they wrote.
People are evil sometimes, and I haven't been experiencing that, so it feels good. Keep it coming,
No tags, no names, but everyone knew who it was about. And that one post opened the floodgates. Former co-stars, crew members, even a well-known talent manager, who we won't name but definitely follows every major gossip account, liked and retweeted the message. Behind the scenes, whispers turned into phone calls. Connor, according to several insiders, had made it very clear from day one. He was willing to promote the show, but his personal life was off the table. The character is already complicated enough, one former co-star allegedly told a close friend in the industry. He didn't want people blurring the lines between who he plays and who he is. That's separation? It wasn't about hiding. It was about control, keeping the chaos of fame from bleeding into his real life. And then came the screenshots. Not from Connor, but from fans who had noticed something strange. Over the past few months, anytime a tabloid article speculated about Connor's dating life, it would disappear within hours. Not just from search engines, but from the sites themselves. Gone, like it never existed. That's not just good PR, that's high-level damage control. Someone, or some team, was working behind the scenes to keep Connor's image focused entirely on the work. No messy rumors, no clickbait speculation, just the actor, the role, and the story.
It was an influencer or like a book talk personality talking about this, and she was like, the reason why women are so into stories that involve gay men is because they are so exhausted by the idea of straight men.
The assumption, of course, was that Connor's management had gone full scorched earth. But there's another theory making the rounds, and it's way more interesting. According to a source close to a streaming platform executive, we know vague, but this one checks out, Connor himself has been involved in every decision about his press image. He doesn't just act, he manages his narrative like a producer. One insider even claimed that Connor had final approval on every interview question for the last 2 press tours, something usually reserved for A-listers and legacy stars. If that's true, it means Connor didn't just draw the line recently, he built the wall a long time ago. But here's the twist. Even with all that control, one interview still slipped through. One question still hit a nerve, and one comment, just 10 words, still had to be posted. Which begs the question, if someone that careful still felt cornered, what does that say about the system around him? Now here's where the temperature really spikes, and not in a cute, red carpet glow kind of way. Because just when you thought Connor had taken control of the narrative, someone else decided to hijack it. Out of nowhere, the interviewer went full defense mode. Instead of apologizing or quietly retreating, like most people would when the internet turns against them, he posted a statement that only poured gasoline on an already roaring fire. He claimed the question had been misunderstood, and that Connor misinterpreted the tone. Misunderstood? Please. The clip was clearer than a 4K camera in broad daylight. But the real kicker? He doubled down, suggesting that asking about someone's preferences was relevant to the conversation. Because, wait for it, the public deserves to know who they're supporting. That one line sent fans into a frenzy. Screenshots flooded every social platform. Fans dragged him for filth, and a few celebrities even unfollowed the guy in real time. It wasn't damage control. It was damage multiplication. And that wasn't the only unexpected twist. A few days after the interviewer's tone-deaf post, another actor from the same show quietly liked a fan comment that read, Respect to Connor for handling that nonsense with grace. Couldn't have been me. That little double tap, yeah, it spoke volumes. Because if you're keeping track, that's not just fans defending Connor anymore. That's his own castmates drawing lines in the sand. And in this industry, public silence is expected. When a co-star makes even a subtle move like that, it's usually because they're just as fed up. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Connor's team wasn't staying idle either. Multiple outlets reported that a few scheduled press appearances were suddenly rescheduled or canceled due to conflicts. Translation? No more Q and As, no more open mics, no more chances for someone to go off script. The studio has apparently gone into full lockdown mode, because when your lead actor is the face of your billion-dollar series, the last thing you want is him getting dragged into a conversation he very clearly wants no part of. But here's what's most surprising. Connor hasn't said another word. Not one. After that 10-word comment, he went quiet. Not in a panicked, crisis mode kind of way, in a calculated, message sent, nothing else to add kind of way. That silence? It spoke louder than any tweet ever could. And yet, despite all the chaos, the show's numbers haven't dipped. If anything, the drama has pushed more people to watch. New viewers are binging episodes just to understand the hype. And returning fans are rallying behind Connor harder than ever. And now people aren't just watching the show, they're watching him. Every appearance, every gesture, every post. The microscope that he tried so hard to avoid, it's zoomed in even closer now. And that's the problem. Because no matter how many walls you build, Hollywood always finds a crack. And Connor's silence is now being interpreted 100 different ways, even when it couldn't be more clear. So where does that leave Connor now? After the silence, after the statement, after the subtle likes and the not-so-subtle shade, what's next for the guy who just wanted to keep things professional in a world obsessed with personal? Well, first, let's be clear. Connor isn't canceled, not even close. In fact, his stock might be rising. Since the interview fiasco, his follower count has jumped, fan accounts are doubling down on their support, and even industry blogs, the ones that usually thrive on mess, are calling him a masterclass in boundary setting. Translation? He's not just surviving the storm, he's walking out of it looking even stronger. But here's the twist most people didn't see coming. This whole thing has sparked a much bigger conversation in Hollywood. Suddenly, other actors are chiming in, not with drama, but with solidarity. One rising star reposted a clip of Connor's now famous comment and added, "Normalize letting actors act without expecting them to hand over their entire identity." Another veteran actor, who's been in the game for decades, praised Connor for standing firm in a system that teaches you to smile and nod no matter what. It's not just a Connor Storrie thing anymore, it's becoming a movement. And that's where things get interesting, because for all the headlines and speculation, what Connor's really done is hold up a mirror to an industry that thrives on access. The more someone gives, the more the machine wants. And when someone refuses, when they dare to say, "Just to be clear, do not ask again," suddenly they're difficult, mysterious, maybe even hiding something. But maybe, just maybe, they're just tired of being turned into a spectacle when all they ever wanted to do was tell a good story. The long-term fallout, that's still unfolding. Will press junkets tighten their guidelines? Will actors start demanding question approvals like Connor allegedly did? Will fan culture shift its expectations or just get sneakier about asking the same questions in softer packaging? It's all up in the air. But one thing's for sure, Connor drew a line and people noticed. Some hated it, most respected it, and all of them are still talking about it. The real irony? By refusing to feed the narrative, Connor became the narrative. By keeping his personal life private, he sparked more interest than any oversharing ever could. He didn't just win the moment, he rewrote the rulebook. And now, whether he likes it or not, he's not just the face of a hit show. He's the new face of celebrity boundaries in an age where everything is treated like public property. So what happens next? Does Connor double down, keep the silence, and ride this wave all the way to award season? Or does the machine push back harder, digging deeper to find the stories he never wanted to share? One thing's for sure, this isn't the end of the conversation. Not even close. Because in today's fame economy, privacy is the new rebellion. And Connor Storrie? He just became the poster boy for it.